Okay, everyone, defeat for Celtic in the derby yesterday. It wasn't very good, but we're here regardless to talk about it. Probably moan a fair bit as well. Well, not probably, certainly, because Stevie's on as well. Stevie, you're more than entitled to moan a bit in today's video. I think for once, that was very poor stuff.
Aye, it was terrible. An extension of January for me. And as I say, as we were talking off air, that's the first game that I've just walked out at as soon as they scored to make it 3-2 in 15 years. I generally do always have a belief in Celtic, and we've had that in our DNA, haven't we, when it comes to last minute goals, like salvaging something for games. But nah, that didn't feel again like we had anything about it. I think the belief was sucked right out of the stadium as soon as Agamani made it 3-2, and that was it. And yeah, it was a really, really poor performance, and left chasing a game again that we shouldn't have been, really. Brendan Rodgers promised us all week that we were going to see a different Celtic, we were going to be ready. He was full of bluster and bravado in the build-up. Just looks stupid now, and I really hope for the next game that he doesn't open his mouth, because that's twice before these games that he's blotted out something, saying that, it was going to be a Celtic side that were ready. They're going to, make a very quick start against Rangers, and Rangers would be the team trailing in the wake. Again, just looks really daft, and I hope he doesn't open his mouth in future.
Yeah, it's been a tough one, certainly for Brendan, tough one for everyone, really, because I think we were all expecting something better than what we saw at Ibrox, and I don't know, we possibly saw slightly better than Ibrox, but being at home, you would expect so much more from Celtic. I guess the one positive, Stevie, is you weren't on the pre-match video this time, so A, we can't blame you, and B, you don't need to feel bad about things you might have said. So that's a positive there. As you probably know, I usually have loads of notes for these games. I actually don't for this game. Just going to kind of try and make it a raw reaction. I mean, we're a good, what are we, 7 hours on from full time, maybe slightly less than that. So I've had a sleep. You've had a chance to think about things. But as I say, I just want to kind of leave the notes in the main in this video and just see how we feel, because I think derby games are always about how you feel at the time watching them, and I just felt the entire game, to be honest, Celtic were just off it right from the kick-off when Rangers knock the ball into the corner and keep it for a bit and win a couple of corners, and we looked a bit ropey, and then I think, is it Raskin maybe, or someone else who has a shot that it's a routine save which Michael tips it away, and then I think it's from that corner they get the goal, and that was obviously not the start we wanted. But you're feeling at that stage. The one positive is that they've scored early and we've got time to come back. And I know Ian Crocker's trotting out his famous stat of only 5 times in the last 150,000 derbies as the team scoring first gone on to lose, and that doesn't exactly fill you with confidence, but you still think we've got enough time. My God, we were just so disjointed. Like, every pass seemed like a real mission. There was no simple passes there. Every single pass seemed like a real effort for someone. There was no movement off the ball. Rangers were swarming us, and we just looked so uncomfortable. And even though we've struggled a bit in the derbies, I was pretty surprised at Celtic Park, where we've been so good this season, that we looked so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I said in the first 5 seconds when the Rangers were having their centre. In fact, before they kicked off the game, said to the boy to my left at Celtic Park, "Watch this, it's going to be a long diagonal, and they're going to play for a throw, or going to play for a corner, like as soon as this ball's hit." It's put back to John Souttar, launches it towards Jeffrey Schlupp, and they get a throw from it. And right away from that, they get a corner. I think they get another throw. They had an effort with Raskin that saved, and it leads to the goal. But again, it's the fact that we just invited pressure onto ourselves. Now, in that, saying that we opening couple of minutes or so, there's a couple of times as well when we're going to clear it, like Jeffrey Schlupp goes to actually clear one of the corners, right back out for another corner. There's one where the throw
Yeah.
in leads to nothing, but I think maybe Maeda or Maeda Hatati
Hatate, I
basically
think. Yeah.
invite pressure back on us by rather than just Celtic have this weird mentality of playing their way out of trouble. See moments like that, launch it up the park, and then get the rest of the team, you know what I mean, out of our half. But they tried to play their way out of trouble. Rangers again, just like they did in January, Rangers went, this mob haven't learned. They're just going to try and just be nice and fancy. Let's capitalise on it. Why wouldn't you? And again, that's where they get the first goal. Raskin, like he did in January, one of the smallest guys in the pitch, and then gets up. I think the game in January, Schmeichel saves his header. But again, we haven't learned from it. The fact that he makes front post runs, like he did in the January game, he's done it again and he's scored. Honestly, couldn't get my head around it. And the atmosphere yesterday at the game, Hamish, was just so flat. Like before a ball was kicked, don't know if you know about the Green Brigade lockout or whatever. That's another story. Whether Celtic were involved in it, I don't know. That's for something maybe later on in the week for you to talk about. But that had an effect because the atmosphere that area and in general was so flat. It was almost as if some fans went in thinking, like me in January, this is going to be a walkover. Let's just turn up. I didn't make that mistake again because, unlike Brendan Rodgers, I actually learned from it. And I realised, no, this is going to be a battle and we can't have any passengers. But we had too many of them the day, Hamish. And it's one of the ones where Rangers, again, deserved it. Turned up to Celtic Park, put in 100%, got their tactics spot on, capitalised on their stupid mistakes, took their chances. And for all this chat we've got about having all the ball and the 72% possession, they've got 3 goals and they've created just as many chances as we did with 28%. So to me, that just tells you that Brendan Rodgers has to change it up for the next match at Ibrox now. That was it for me. I guess you might want to come on to that and we're just discussing the game now, but I've got a lot of strong feelings on what he's going to do for the future because personally, where I feel now, and a lot of people won't like hearing this, and I'm sure there'll be some hate comments coming in, but after the last couple of games, I've started to lose a bit of faith in the manager and these fixtures, Hamish. Again, people won't want to hear that. People will be saying, how can you possibly say that? Look at his record. Look at what he's done in the past and we're going to go on to probably win a treble. Fine. But you're measured on these games against Rangers, and arguably the last few, Hamish. Like, let's take the cup final into consideration too. I mean, that was fine margins there. Yilmaz's penalty goes in. That's another one. Hatate's maybe saved, and we're talking about a defeat there. But the last 2 games, just it's been continual mistakes. Rangers have capitalised on it. They've sussed us out. And I am now at the point where I'm thinking that we can't afford another defeat or a heavy one. We can't afford a defeat at all getting into that game in May because that's going to have serious ramifications for the season after that.
Yeah, because we know how, from our own experience in recent years, how quickly the derby can turn and one team can appear to have a bit of a kind of a bit of a sign, I guess, over the opposition and Rangers. I mean, we had it for years, didn't we? When Rangers first came up to the top league, and then they got it. Obviously, COVID season maybe just prior to that as well. I think they won the derby at Celtic Park at New Year, the one where Gerrard went mad. Kind of similar-ish game, I thought, to today's in a way. In fact, just quickly, the game that today reminded me of a lot, just flipped the other way, was a 3-0 from last season. Now, I know it didn't finish 3-0, but the away team dominating the first half, going in 2-0 up, the home team coming back, and then obviously Ida scored at Ibrox, Igaman scores today. The difference was that we didn't rally to get a 3-0, but I thought they were similar games. But it can flip so quickly, and you're now looking 3 games. Rangers have scored 9 goals in those 3 games. The issue for me, away from just conceding the 9, is Rangers don't have to work hard to score their goals against us. The amount of those goals, I mean, can't think off the top of my head, but I'm sure if you went through those 9 goals they've scored against us in those this season in those 3 games, I reckon 6 or 7 of them would be down to pretty obvious Celtic errors. And Cameron Carter-Vickers spoke about that after the game. I was reading his comments and he was saying it's not like Rangers kind of cut us open with brilliant play. It's like daft things that we do. They just wait for us to make a mistake and pounce on it. And that's been a real theme of the last 3 games. They kind of know where to be and how to press us, and we just don't seem to have a way to play through the press. And Callum McGregor being missing for me was a big thing today. And I know people might, play devil's advocate and bring up the fact McGregor played at Ibrox at New Year and we lost badly in that game, so maybe it doesn't make the difference. But Callum McGregor would have made such a difference to us today in terms of the way we build up the game and just adding like a bit of composure and calmness to the way we played. It just felt to me, as I said earlier, like every single time we got the ball, I was waiting on someone giving it away. Like even normally steady players, Kasper Schmeichel, just uncharacteristic, kicking the ball out of play. Obviously, the one that we somehow got away with where he just passes it to Czerny, ridiculous. Cameron Carter-Vickers had a few moments as well. The ball's bobbling right over Jota's feet. Midfield, Engels, no composure at all. Luke McCowan at times did good things, at times no composure at all. It just felt as if there was nobody in that team just to take the ball and go, calm now, I've got it, I'm going to drive us forward like Callum McGregor would have done. If we'd have conceded that goal in the first few minutes and McGregor was playing, I guarantee we'd have got a grip of the game much quicker with McGregor in the team. But the fact he was missing, the fact Trusty was missing, but not just that, the fact that like their immediate backups were missing as well. Scales would have played, Bernardo would have played, and neither of them were available as well. So there was a bit of a kind of uneasy feeling in the morning leading up to the game. I think we all felt it when we found out McGregor and Trusty weren't going to be playing.
Yeah, immediately like you started feeling a wee bit worried last night when you heard those rumours, and then when you saw the lineup and you realised that it wasn't the whoppers that you see on WhatsApp, that it actually was true. You were like, all right. So it went from thinking, we're heavy favourites here, and then you started thinking, could be a bit of a 50-50, and that's what it turned out to be. It was one of the games that, if Hattie's win goes in at the end, for example, we're talking about a 3-2 win here, but in the end it's fine margins. Really stupid mistake with CCV, who starting to now feel is maybe being dragged down a wee bit with some of the mistakes around about him, to the point where he was making them, because it's so uncharacteristic. I've seen him today not being able to deal with a long punt, and then AJ had a complete shocker all game. That summed up his match today. But I know you're saying, I think McGregor, I agree with you. We missed his leadership. That was a big thing today. We missed a player to take responsibility on the ball, because in midfield, anytime, like, as I say, I mentioned that 72% possession stat, but that's because Nawrocki, Schmeichel and CCV passed in triangles between them. That's where all that possession would have been factored into. Because in midfield, Engels, Hatate and McCowan all in the first half were terrified of the ball. That 3 in midfield up against Rangers 5, compressing them and giving them no time in the ball. The 3 of them didn't want to know. And this is what I was saying during the first half at 2-0 down. We didn't have any strong characters in that side. We didn't have any strong sort of leaders in that team today. Say Brendan's first season, you had a real strong playing defence like Kieran Tierney. You had Scott Brown, and then up front Moussa Dembele. Very good players, but really physical, and they weren't scared to be aggressive either. We didn't have that today. Rangers were physically all over us. They weren't scared to be aggressive, especially Raskin. We had no player in midfield that could put even the dark arts involved and everything there. You couldn't even put the boot into him to let him know he's in a game, or let him know it's a derby. And I hate all that phrase, because essentially you want to win the game through playing football, but you've got to be aggressive in a derby too. And that's now 2 games clearly that Rangers have been, and that's how they've won the game. They've not been scared, they've been brave in the press, and we've just been found wanting. And I feel that's the type of player that we really. I know we're bringing in Tierney, but I really feel that we miss an aggressive 6 who can play football but is not scared to put in a tackle as well. And a player like Pete Scott Brown or a Victor Wanyama type. badly missing that today. And I know that Callum McGregor, even just his lead, he's a different type of player for the footballer that I mentioned. We missed that leader today. We really did. And gets me thinking as well that they always say it shouldn't matter about your captain. You should have 11 leaders out there in general. And that's what I feel to understand with that Celtic side today. For what they've won, and the high pressure games they've been involved in the past, a lot of them involved in matches against the Rangers last season, where it was do or die games, especially in finals, and they just collectively shrink today. It was so destroying to watch, Hamish.
I mean, like, how many of those players started in the Allianz Arena and were 30 seconds away from beating Bayern Munich? So, like, we know these guys, and I know there was a few differences. McGregor was missing. Was that the only one? Yeah, Trusty would have been missing as well. But like, they proved at that level that they're a pretty good team. And I know it's a different game plan. It was more defensive that day. But again, they've proven in this fixture as well, in games at Celtic Park. I think we'd won 5 in a row prior to today against Rangers at Celtic Park. They've proven that they can dominate games like this. It's just that there's an issue at the moment with Rangers make us really uncomfortable, and we can't seem to really get out of it. And even I think when we improved in the second half, I didn't think it was an improvement in quality really. I just thought it was an improvement in attitude, and we got a bit more energy about our game and took the game to them. And to be honest, we completely dominated that second half, I'd say, other than Rangers having a couple of chances near the end, including the goal. They had one double chance just before that. But I just thought we were the team pretty much dominating. But I never felt at all watching the second half like it was like... I never felt Celtic were playing particularly well. Even like when we got the first goal back, which was a great time to get the goal right at the start of the second half, gave everyone belief. You could hear Celtic Park. You were obviously there. Celtic Park, the atmosphere just changed with that Maida goal, which was a brilliant header. And but very quickly it just kind of went back to the slow football. And there was a phase in the second half where I think it was at 2-1 with maybe half an hour left, and God, we were just passing the ball side to side, and Carter Vickers to Naropsky and Johnson, and then back. And how many times did Engels get the ball and just knock the ball back, or Schlupp passed it back to Schmeichel about 3 or 4 times when there was no reason to do it. It was almost as if we were just scared to make a mistake, and it was so kind of safe, really safe football. And by the way, I thought Schlupp had a pretty good game. I thought he was, for me, one of the better players. Naropsky, can't argue with that. He had a lot of really good tackles in the first half, so I thought he was good. And Dyson Maida was good as well. There was good moments for other players. I thought Hatate came on to a game in the second half. I actually thought he was our one of our better players as the game went on. But yeah, I agree with you as well about the kind of 50-50s. And there was one you might remember where Luke McCowan is in a 50-50, I think, with Raskin again, and he pulls out of it. And it's just like, you cannot have that in a derby.
Yeah, mate, and also the one with Jota, who I actually thought Jota was one of our better players. He was looking to make things happen. My uncle disagreed right after the game when we were speaking in the car, but I thought Jota was one of our better players. But there was one where ball ricochets and he's kind of through in goal, a 50-50 with Proper, and Proper just wins the ball just because he's got the intent to make it, and Jota just backs out it. And when you see that in a derby, it's brutal as a fan. But just see a player like Proper winning that tackle, just wee small margins like that, but it gives Rangers so much confidence, and a player have got more belief, and there's more doubts in our players, because that's a real big opportunity, and we squandered it. And then you can see after that we didn't create anything until I think McCowan hits it by just before 70 minutes, a few minutes before Hatate's equaliser. But you made a good point about how safe and how risks-free we were with the passing at the back, and that all comes for the manager though. Like, I'm all fine to blame the players for it and get on their backs because it is poor to watch, but it's Brendan Rodgers' instructions. He is obsessed with possession-based football, and Rangers is smartened onto it. And I was just saying as well during the game, why not, again, just punt the ball forward? I mean, Maeda's got pace to burn. Yang's not a slouch. Punt the ball forward, get our players out of half, and then push Rangers on. They might make some mistakes out of it, but most importantly, it gets the danger away from our play. You know what I mean? We're not playing in our half. Who cares if it's not the type of silky football that you set out to play all the time. Put that ego, put that pride aside, and just try and adapt, do something different to get the result. But yeah, the lack of route one was killing me today, especially with the fact that you saw at times John Souttar, I think it was, looking absolutely shattered and done in, ball over the top of him, Maeda latching onto it. Like, it's just wee simple things like that. But again, it comes for the manager, and he really has to consider these type of things for the next derby. If he goes into the next derby again with that type of approach, passing the ball around the back, thinking Rangers are going to switch off to break the lines there, when it's clear that five in midfield that they've got are going to overrun our three, it's going to have the same results. So yeah, that was a real frustration for me today.
As you say, like, there was a couple of moments even in the first half where we got the ball in behind the fullback and looked quite threatening. There was one with Jota where he runs in behind Sterling, I think, and gets the shot away and it goes out for a corner. And there was a few, like, when you're talking about pulling out of things, like, there was a few, and we all absolutely love Daizen Maeda, and I thought Maeda had another good game today, generally speaking, but there's a few when he even went through with Butland, and I just felt like, I don't know, like, go through it and maybe you go round him or get a foul and Butland's off, and I just felt we pulled out of a few things. But the one you mentioned with Jota and Proper was a good one as well. It kind of felt like a bit of it was like bad luck in terms of, like, they were getting a lot of the ricochets like they get for the winning goal, etc. And Johnson slips, but also I think a lot of that was down to them just being more hungry and on to second balls. It was just, it was really poor stuff. Didn't enjoy watching it at all. As I say, throughout the game, I just thought the kind of basic level of our football, as I keep saying, there was no moment in that game where I really felt we were kind of playing well. I know there was moments when we controlled the game, but I think that was more down to, like, aggression and appetite. We maybe showed a bit in the second half, but it never really felt as if we actually put a good move together, which is so unlike this team. I'm happy to kind of chat for a couple more minutes and then go, Stevie, because this is one I'll... at least we don't need to stew over it for 2 weeks during the international break, eh?
I know. You're dying for a... Ironically, after all my moaning, I actually wouldn't mind a wee midweek game to get over that one. But yeah, this is just something that the players are going to have to take their medicine. The manager's going to have to take their medicine and stew over it again. I will have to, so will they. And I sincerely hope after the break, starting with the Hearts game, that there's a hunger and desire there to end the season on a high, not just stutter over the line and actually sprint over it, because we're capable of playing good football. We are a decent football side, as we've shown this season. But these games, a lot of players are really measured. They've let themselves down big time in the last 180 minutes against them. It's been shocking, if truth be told. And it's getting to the point, as I said, that if the manager doesn't change things... Hamish, here's one for you, right? 2001-2002 season. Martin O'Neill has... pretty much put Dick Advocat out of job. Alec McLeish comes in and has a sign over Martin O'Neill, who can't get the better of him in like 5 or 6 games, to the point where Alex McLeish was doing the same thing, ball over the top, Peter Lovingcrans against our 3-5-2, and he was a real thorn on our side. He scored countless goals against us, and Rangers went on to that season, they were unbeaten, and then the next season they go on to win a treble. So that's what I'm talking about with this season, like the confidence they're getting into next season. We have to nip that in the bud. But what Martin O'Neill did was he actually recognised, wait a minute, this 3 at the back I'm playing, I'm getting exposed here and they're right on top. Switched to a 4. Suddenly, Peter Lovingcrans and the likes of De Boer weren't able to get all that space in behind, and Celtic started taking over, gaining the upper hand in the derbies again. And again, Martin O'Neill, stubborn as he was able to actually realise, no, this isn't working against them. They're time and time again, they're getting joy against us. I have to change it. And that's what has to happen with Brendan now. It's undeniable Rangers have sussed out how we play, and we kind of go into the next game against them, or future games, playing that style of football. no matter, even if Callum McGregor's back, that's not going to change it. I think the system has to change, because right now it's failing us in these matches, and really that's what I'm looking to see for the next time we go to Ibrox, because that's a potential dead rubber, as we always get in these stages of the season against them, has now actually turned into it's turned into a really important game.
Yeah, it's going to be an important game, and regardless of us winning the league before then, which we're going to win the league, fair chance we're going to win the treble, but I would say we're going to need to play a hell of a lot better to win the treble, because we've got, fair enough, maybe St Johnstone might not be able to give us too much of a game, but certainly in the final we're going to have to play a lot better than we did today. But yeah, when it comes to that derby, as much as a dead rubber, I think it's going to feel pretty meaningful, because losing 3 in a row against them, regardless of winning the league, I think losing 3 in a row against them would leave a bit of a kind of bitter taste in your mouth about the season. And it's been a great season, everything considered so far. Europe, domestic stuff, it's been pretty spot on. But there's been, an element now of the derby matches, and just the last 2 really, because we did win the cup final, but certainly the last 2 in the league have been nowhere near good enough. So yeah, Brendan Rodgers is going to have to try and work something out. I don't know. I can't say I'm massively hopeful about this game at that point. At this point, the game at Ibrox, but things can change, and potentially have McGregor back, Trusty back, Bernardo Scales potentially as a bench player, and can hopefully do something there. But things could be worse. Stevie, we're heading to the league title. It's not as if we're in a title fight here. So the match, I guess, in terms of the destiny of the league title was kind of inconsequential. But as you say, you don't want to give Rangers any confidence for next year, because they might end up hiring Barry Ferguson. Anyway.
Well, as I say, I'm not making any wee digs or anything towards them at this point. Oh, it's like, how can Barry Ferguson got one over Brendan today? Brendan's going to have to live with that. His ego will take an absolute doing, and it should be, and he should be hurting for it for the next time. So there's motivation for him at Ibrox.
Alright everyone, apologies it wasn't a more upbeat video, but I'm sure you can understand. It's pretty disappointing losing at home to your rivals, playing like that. We should be beating Rangers, in my opinion. We have far better players than Rangers, so unacceptable, but we'll get over it, we'll move on. Still plenty to be won, a couple of trophies hopefully before the end of the season. Steve, we might catch up with you during the international break, I'm not sure. We are going to continue with the videos, everyone, in the main. May have a couple of days off. We're going to do like Q&As and various stuff, look into different aspects of the club as well. So yep, Stevie, I'll let you head. Thanks very much everyone for watching, and I'll catch up with you this time tomorrow.